Commander Alex Rivera had always prided himself on maintaining the highest standards of military discipline aboard the interstellar research vessel Prometheus. As the only human among a crew of various alien species, he understood the importance of representing his species with dignity and professionalism. What he hadn't anticipated was how drastically his carefully maintained facade would crumble in a single, embarrassing moment. The Prometheus had been humanity's first successful diplomatic vessel designed to foster relationships with the newly contacted Galactic Council. Alex commanded a crew of 12 beings from 6 different species, each bringing their unique abilities to the mission. Among them was Kira, a member of the Valonian species, who served as the ship's environmental systems specialist and, by strange circumstance, had also taken on the role of maintaining the human quarters. Valonians were known throughout the galaxy for their meticulous attention to detail and their almost obsessive dedication to cleanliness and order. Kira stood nearly 7 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under artificial lighting, and large, expressive silver eyes that missed nothing. Her species had evolved from a planet where cooperation and service to others were considered the highest virtues, making them natural caretakers and administrators. For months, Alex had maintained his image as the stoic, unflappable human commander. He rose before dawn, maintained perfect posture, spoke in measured tones, and never allowed his crew to see him in anything less than full uniform. The Galactic Council had high expectations for humanity's entry into their civilization, and Alex felt the weight of his entire species' reputation resting on his shoulders. On the night that would forever change the dynamic aboard the Prometheus, Alex had been working late in his quarters, reviewing diplomatic protocols for their upcoming arrival at the Council's central hub. The stress of the mission had been mounting, and he had finally allowed himself a rare moment of vulnerability. He had removed his formal uniform, changed into comfortable civilian clothes, and was sitting cross-legged on his bed, surrounded by scattered papers and half-eaten snacks. What made the scene particularly embarrassing was not just his casual attire, but the fact that he was engaged in one of humanity's most cherished, yet seemingly primitive activities. He was building a model starship with his hands, complete with tiny painted details and careful assembly of miniature components. The model was a replica of Earth's first interstellar vessel, a project he had been working on in secret as a way to combat the intense pressure of command. Kira had entered his quarters to perform routine atmospheric readings, as she did every 3 days according to her precise schedule. However, due to a miscalculation in the ship's time cycle, she had arrived 6 hours earlier than usual. The door to Alex's quarters had malfunctioned earlier that day, failing to properly seal and engage its privacy lock. When Kira stepped through the doorway, her silver eyes widened in what could only be described as shock. There sat the commanding figure she had come to respect and admire, looking remarkably human and vulnerable. His usually perfectly styled hair was disheveled. He wore a faded shirt with what appeared to be primitive Earth text, and his hands were covered in tiny spots of paint from his modeling work. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Alex froze like a deer caught in headlights, a tiny brush still poised in his hand, while Kira's tall frame filled the doorway. The silence stretched between them, heavy with surprise and embarrassment. "Commander," Kira finally spoke, her voice carrying the melodic quality typical of her species. "I apologize for the intrusion. I did not realize you were engaged in creative pursuits." Alex felt his face burning with embarrassment, but something in Kira's tone made him pause. There was no judgment in her voice, only genuine curiosity and perhaps even admiration. He realized that in his efforts to appear strong and commanding, he had been hiding the very qualities that made humans unique and interesting to other species. It's just a hobby," Alex stammered, setting down the brush. "Something from Earth. We call it model building. Kira stepped closer, her eyes examining the intricate details of the tiny spacecraft. The precision is remarkable. Your species creates these replicas for what purpose? Relaxation mostly. Sometimes to remember where we came from. Alex found himself explaining the human concepts of nostalgia, craftsmanship, and the meditative nature of working with one's hands. As he spoke, he noticed Kira's genuine interest and realized that his perceived weakness might actually be strength. Over the following weeks, their relationship evolved from formal superior and subordinate to something approaching friendship. Kira began visiting Alex's quarters regularly, fascinated by human hobbies and customs. She shared stories of Valonian artistic traditions, and Alex taught her basic model building techniques. The other crew members eventually learned about their commander's human quirks, and rather than losing respect for him, they found themselves more connected to him. The revelation that their leader was not an emotionless machine but a complex being with personal interests and vulnerabilities made him more relatable and trustworthy. When the Prometheus finally arrived at the Galactic Council hub, Alex presented humanity not as a species of perfect soldiers, but as beings of complexity, creativity, and emotional depth. The Council was far more impressed by humanity's multifaceted nature than they would have been by mere military precision. In the end, what Alex had considered his most embarrassing moment became the foundation for genuine interspecies understanding and friendship, proving that sometimes our perceived weaknesses are actually our greatest strengths.